Hi everyone, we'll just wait a few minutes for others to join and then we'll get today's session started. Okay, for everyone who's just joined, we're just waiting for a few more to join us and then we'll get today's session started. Okay, we're going to get today's session started. So welcome, thank you for joining us for this very special CREST webinar, which is about the transformation of our exams portfolio. CREST exams are changing and how to prepare and what you need to know. We've got a fantastic panel of speakers for you today to take you through our journey so far, where we're going to be going to and the rationale for that. So joining me today as our hosts is our CEO Nick Benson, our Senior Products Manager for Cyber Skills and Certifications, Egor Fritas, and our Head of IT and Change, Mark Grigg. And alongside those, I'm very pleased to welcome our three of our CREST assessors who are also joining us today, providing their expertise, and thank you so much to them for their time. We have Ian Lovering from DXC, Ben Turner from LRQA Nettitude, and Tim Reed from Centrium. So a bit of housekeeping before we get started. So today's session is being recorded, so do feel free to leave your cameras and mics off. We will be sharing details, including the recording, after the event on our website and across our social media. So keep an eye out for that, and also you'll be able to share it with people who weren't able to attend the live event. There will be a Q&A at the end of the session, so if you've got any of those questions you really want to ask that have been born out of what you've heard today, you will have an opportunity at the end to ask them to the panel. And without further ado, I'm going to hand over to our first speaker today, who is our CEO, Nick Benson. Nick, over to you.
Thank you very much, Andrew, and hello to everyone that's joined. Very much appreciate your time. What we really wanted to do today is share some of the background to our transformation that might otherwise not be known widely across the community, the kind of things that is more difficult to get from a website around the journey over the last few years. So we could go to the next slide, please. So why are we transforming? We have been on a mission for some years now to make our exam portfolio, in fact, our overall proposition, globally applicable and globally scalable. That is embedded in our not-for-profit mission. It is not, for example, to just focus on specific countries, countries in terms of wealth or regions, and therefore it really is part of our mission to make sure that we can deliver our exams on a global basis, and historically that has not been the case. We are very keen and committed to retaining the badge of honour status that we hope, in fact, many of you who already have CREST certifications already feel proud of. We want to make sure that we keep that in our future, and whatever changes that we make, that remains. Our exams are almost uniquely used, in particular, in high-risk environments, and they're, for example, governments when they're looking for certifications, regulators, CNI, etc. Our exams are very well regarded, and we want to make sure that that is retained, and that this drives some of the decisions that we've made that I'll talk about in a moment. We are committed that if you are skilled and suitably prepared, you have a very good chance of passing first time. It was a key driver and objective of this transformation. It is no guarantee, of course, but that is one of the key tenets of our transformation journey. Content needs to be up to date. We know that. We've listened to all of your feedback over many years to collect these set of objectives. Content up to date is clearly one of them. And again, I'll explain some of that in due course with the team. And we also want to make sure that our platform is cost efficient. Our legacy platform was in need of replacement. It was difficult to achieve many of these objectives with our old platform here, but in particular as an expensive platform to run, it was very difficult to change, and that has led to again a journey that we've gone through the last few years that Mark will talk about to find something that achieves these objectives. However, it's not a straightforward equation, and this is some of the stuff that we wanted to share with our community, is why comparison to other providers is challenging, and why delivery of a solution that worked for our candidates and exam takers has been challenging. You will be familiar with some very large global certification providers. They are often mostly private commercial businesses with significant capital behind them, and they have economies of scale from the footprint that they have. They have very large investment pots, and they provide generally training that is at scale as well, often outsourced to local providers. And all of those things are things that we aspire to. Whilst we are small, we aspire to be that global player, having a real significant impact internationally in support of our mission. The other end of the scale, you have smaller, more niche providers, and again, there's things there that we see in ourselves. We want to be secure. We want our exams to be secure. We want confidence in the identity of the person taking it. And that is more like the smaller niche players that we see, who often can operate through distinct low volume of physical locations, where CREST used to be, for example, back in the day in Slough in the UK. So we are trying to get the best of those two models, the scale, footprint, professionalism of the large scale certification providers, but with the security and also the customer service feel that you get with a smaller provider. And what we found is there really aren't any that are quite like that, particularly for us in this non-profit situation where we want that global scaled footprint, but without the large levels of reserves. So to get that balance right has not always been easy. And some of the things that we'll talk about over the course of the next half hour or so will bring to life some of the decisions we made that from the outside will, I think, hopefully be useful to understand why we've come to the conclusions that we did, and why sometimes the other things that you might see in the market may not be a direct comparison in the way that you might otherwise think. So without further ado, I'm going to pass over to Egil.
Thanks, Nick. Hello, everyone. So Nick has covered a lot of information around the why, and I wanted to take you through about the what. So what is the scope of this transformation? So related to the platform and the systems that were used to operate our exams, one of the key drivers is actually to focus on exams that have a practical component to it, and historically were dependent on those systems and that kind of platform. So here on this slide, you can see all those exams that are highlighted in blue. They are the focus now of this transformation. So for example, our penetration testing and red teaming exams, they are being highly impacted by this transformation. We're focusing on them because they do have practical components attached to them. I will now hand over to Mark.
Thanks, Egor. Hi, everyone. So I'm now going to go through a bit of the history about how we've arrived at our solution today. So there's been a huge amount of work going on behind the scenes at Crest over the last few years, and this hasn't always been visible externally. We've been conducting feedback from our communities, and as a result of some of the challenges posed by COVID in 2020, this has made us and all certification providers reevaluate the way exams are delivered. So historically, Crest utilised a hotel-based model for their practical exams, and while this model served its purpose, it wasn't without its challenges. It proved costly and logistically complex to scale globally, and this hindered our strategic plans to enable candidates from around the world to sit our practical exams. Recognising these limitations, we embarked on a journey to innovate and refine our model. So in 2021, we partnered with Pearson VUE, and this was to develop a new version of the CRT exam, and back then it was called CRSA. This collaboration brought fresh content and a revised approach to delivering the exam. However, unfortunately, there were some performance issues at several of the test centres, and this really affected the candidate experience, and this resulted in us having to pause its launch. This setback then led us to explore alternative solutions, and then in 2022 we started to look at the home proctoring model. We evaluated a few solutions, and while initially they were quite promising and they didn't suffer some of the performance issues that we saw in the Pearson VUE test centres, the home proctoring model, it failed to meet our stringent security standards. We still didn't give up there, and we started to look for other ways that we could scale a secure solution. And in late 2022, we did a comprehensive market review with an external consultancy. These findings again indicated that achieving our vision of this take it anywhere model, this would require substantial investment to implement, lots of different sort of technologies that had to be integrated in a market that was really immature. In addition to this, some of the security issues that we saw with home proctoring models were still not really answered. So again, we still didn't give up there, and our persistence was paid off in 2023 when we resumed looking at the test centre model back with Pearson VUE. So there've been upgrades to broadband infrastructure, there was optimizations in routing, all done by Pearson VUE, and these significantly improved the consistency and reliability of our lab-based exams across the test centre. We then validated this model by testing with over 60 candidates worldwide, and also together with Pearson VUE, we identified the test centres that were capable of delivering practical exams. So after this, all this trial and error over the last few years, and also with the challenges of having to maintain and update a legacy platform in the background, the really good news is now that we have a solution that we're really proud of. So if you can go to the next slide. So what's the new solution? So the delivery choice or partner is with Pearson VUE test centres. The reason we've chosen Pearson VUE is they really lead the industry with unmatched global presence in terms of test centres. So the test centres that we've identified with them or selected to run our practical exams, there's over 1,000 of these capable worldwide at the moment. They have really robust proctoring service, so we can ensure the integrity of our exams and the validity of the certifications we award. In terms of the actual exam environments, the candidates will be using virtual machines to complete the exams. And whilst we understand that they might feel restricted by this, by not being able to use a personal computer, we've looked at different ways to address this. So we've collaborated with our focus groups and assessors, and we've made sure that all of the preloaded tools on the exam computers, and these will be available in both Windows and Linux versions for our certified level exams, they're all the tools that you'd need to pass the exam. Furthermore, we've also we also share this candidate machine via an AMI in AWS, so that candidates can familiarize themselves before they take the exam. So this gives the opportunities for a candidate to go into AWS, load up the actual candidate machine that you'll be using within the exam, and test out all the tools that are on there. Now, whilst Pearson VUE do allow physical notes for one of their larger clients, this practice isn't available across all test sites that Pearson VUE have, and it's been offered to no other client. In fact, when we discuss this with Pearson VUE, they're actively trying to remove this feature, as it also does compromise security. So instead of using this, we have developed an application called CrestDrive. And this application enables candidates to upload any files before the exam to a site, a bit like a sort of Google Drive site. And then when you launch your exam environment, these files will then be downloaded onto the candidate machine. This is a really unique feature, and has really positioned us as pioneers in lab-based exams. The final part of the solution is where we host our all of our exam content now. So we've moved it all to infrastructure as a service. And what this means is it's now all of our exams are can scale globally. Every time we run an exam, it's efficient. They're on-demand labs, so that reduces our cost to actually run the exams. And also we've reduced the time and effort and costs associated with developing and updating our exam content. So all of this together, this approach that we've designed and implemented, it's the first of the kind that in Pearson VUE test centres. And indeed, Pearson VUE have selected us to present together with them at the Association International Conference, so that we can share our journey and all the innovation strategies that we've employed to deliver our exams. So we believe this model represents the most balanced solution. We think it allows Crest to offer exams globally in a cost-effective and secure manner, while maintaining our ability to maintain and update content that is current and relevant. We also don't see this as the end of our journey either, and we're going to constantly be looking at ways to improve the model. And this includes thinking about how we can enable exams to be taken anywhere, and also how we could in the future integrate people's own machines. I'm now going to hand back to Egor, who's going to look at what this means for the candidate journey.
Thanks, Mark. Yeah, so we are taking this opportunity as well to look into our candidate journey, their experience, look into all the feedback that we have gathered across the years, and also bring improvements to that journey. So there's a big focus on helping candidates to understand the exam that they're going to take. We're looking to all the materials that Crest has historically provided, all the resources that we have provided, and coming up some refreshed materials and some new resources as well. So as part of this transformation, we are refreshing and revising our syllabi. We are designing new notes for candidates as well. These are documents and guidance that give a lot of information about what to expect in terms of the exam. What is the format, what is the duration, how the marking system works. So all this kind of information, they are quite useful for candidates when they are preparing for their exams. Sample questions, sample scenarios as well, they are part of this preparation step and understanding their exams. We also work with assessors who have taken exams to write some top tips and offer some top tips to our candidates. So this is a new resource as well that we're introducing across these new exams. And as mentioned before, we're also giving our candidates the opportunity to try out the exam environment by using the candidate machine ahead of the exam. So that's really good because they can have a feel for the exam. They can explore the tooling that is going to be available on the day of the exam as well. So all of these to help candidates having a better understand of what to expect on the exam they're going to take, and feeling more prepared for the day of the exam. We also looked into the learning and training resources that are available. So CREST has recently relaunched our approved training providers program. I invite you all to check out our website, our training providers page, and you're going to see our search mechanism. You can look for training providers that are aligned to specific CREST exams. You can look for training providers in your location as well. You can look for training providers based on the training format and delivery methods as well. So this program has been revamped and we are working on it. We want to increase and expand the number of providers. We want to have providers aligned to all CREST exams. So that's our goal. It's a journey for us as well, but we have started this journey and we have some very good training providers and lab providers as well in place, helping us and our candidates in their preparation. Then in terms of the registration and taking their exam, I think one of the key changes that we've mentioned already in the previous slides is the introduction of CREST Drive. So when a candidate registers for these new exams that we're transforming, they will be able to upload their notes and any relevant files ahead of their exam. So they could access those documents in the day of their exam. So this is a big change as well on this journey and things that a candidate can do ahead of the exam. And the other really exciting thing that we are introducing are going to be our Credly badges. These are going to be aligned to our examinations as well. So we're really excited on this work that is happening. Now I want to spend some time talking you through specific exams. I will start with CRT. So CRT, the new exam has been launched back in November 2023. And again, like we looked into feedback that we have collected across the years. We did a lot of testing, as Mark has mentioned already, and we took all of these on board to consider what kind of improvements we could make to the new exam. So in terms of the exam structure, for example, we looked into the assessment methods. The previous version of CRT exam, it was mainly around MCQs, and that's how we used to test the skills. In the new exam, we have introduced some single word answers as well, alongside multiple choice questions. So there's more variety on the way that we're testing those skills at that level. So that was one of the improvements that we've implemented now. We talked about the expanded locations. So the new exam is available since November in all these Pearson VUE test centers. So we're looking to 74 countries, over 1,000 test sites where our candidates can now take this exam. So it's a big improvement, big change as well in terms of how and where you can take this new exam, CRT. We then look into improving the experience. I talked a little bit about the preparation resources that we have been refreshing and introducing new things, the possibility of candidates to experiment the candidate machine, getting familiar with the tooling that is available ahead of the exam. That helps a lot with their preparation. We also did some work around improving the layout and the look and feel of the exam itself. So now you have questions, answers, all integrated in one place when they're taking the exam in their exam screen. And we're also working to implement CREST Drive as a functionality for the CRT exam later on this year. We're going to talk more about timeframes, but this is some work that is happening and we're quite excited about it as well. I think some of the feedback is around having notes again, or being able to upload files. So we are working on that as well as the next big improvement for the new CRT exam. And we also had a look into the syllabus and content, so it was an opportunity for us to update and refresh our syllabus. We have addressed some feedback that we had across the years as well, and now we have a more balanced exam when you think about the infrastructure and web applications sections. So this is one of the key improvements as well, and we took this opportunity to update some of the skills and technologies as well. Now, if we move to the next slide, please. I want to talk a little bit about CCT Inf and CCT App as well. So another really important exam in our portfolio that is being updated. We looked again into all the feedback that we have received. What could we improve? What could we provide for our candidates? And in terms of the exam structure, there were some really interesting changes. So one of them is that we are giving more flexibility. Candidates can now book both parts of the exam in the same day. So 2 sittings, 1 day. If they want to do so, they could potentially take the whole CCT Inf and CCT App exams in 1 day, which was not possible before. We also looked into some feedback on how the 2 parts of the exams used to work. Now the scenario component is mainly focused on reporting writing skills, and we have moved the scenario component as part of the written exam now. So scenario has been separated or split from the practical exam, which is the component now focusing on hands-on skills and testing those skills. So that's, again, based on candidate feedback. I think it's quite better from their journey. They take the written exam, which includes scenario, and then they take the practical exam. And another added flexibility actually is that we are removing, they don't need to take it in a certain order. So once we have launched the new practical exam, candidates can start with the practical and then take the written, or vice versa. They have flexibility, they can choose where to start. The same thing applies in terms of expanded locations. So we're offering these exams now through our partner Pearson VUE, which is great for candidates. And then we also took this as an opportunity to refresh our syllabus, look into our exam content. So I will now hand over to Tim Reed, one of our assessors, who is going to give you more information about what we've done.
Yeah, thanks, Egor. So as part of this process, a full review of the syllabus for both the INF and the app exams has been carried out. And this has been done to make sure that they were up to date, comprehensive, and relevant to the specific disciplines that they're aimed at. As a result of this, both of these have been expanded to include a wider range of attack vectors and exploitation techniques. And changes have been made with the aim of assessing a candidate's knowledge of technology seen in more modern network environments. So security controls and vulnerabilities found within new web development frameworks, cloud services, virtualization and containerization technologies. So these kinds of things have all been added as part of the syllabus now. Outside of the technical aspects of the exam content and syllabus, it's important to ensure that candidates are now assessed on the skills required of a senior member of a test team. And with this in mind, areas covering project management skills such as scoping, client communications, and report QA have all been added to both the syllabus and the exam content. And finally, with the move to deliver the exams globally, changes had to be made to the exam content to ensure that sections relating to law and compliance are relevant to the individual that's sat doing the exam. And I feel that the outcome of these changes is that people can be really confident that individuals with these certifications have the skills to both manage and deliver penetration testing engagements to a really high standard. I think that's really good. So I'll now hand over to Ben to discuss the CSAS and the CSAM exams.
Thanks, Tim. So yeah, CSAS and red teaming. So what have we been doing? So we've been listening to our members, had a lot of feedback from industry, a lot of focus through the ILPT focus group, through Matt Lorentzen and the team, and that's been fantastic. We've also been talking with the regulators about the changes across all the different regulatory frameworks that are coming out. We want to make sure that our exams are consistent and they follow the same principles, so that everything is relevant, it's unambiguous, the candidate experience is sort of second to none, and there's that international focus. So we need to make sure that, I guess, the exam is evolving like the industry is. Red teaming has kind of moved on quite significantly over the past few years. Not quite the same as it was almost like a decade ago when the discipline really kind of came to its own. We want to make sure the exam is still an accolade and people hold it in that really high regard, you know, as Nick mentioned at the start, that badge of honor. We want to make sure that the exam is still like that and sort of really current and relevant. The industry has also had a big move to the cloud, so we need to make sure we adopt elements of the cloud. Red teaming isn't always about phishing in directly into an environment anymore. There's a lot of focus on the different types of threats, things like CI/CD pipelines, infrastructure as code, DevOps, all the kind of latest techniques that are being adopted in the wild, zero trust technologies and things like that. So we also want to make sure the exam is threat intelligence led or informed, and we want to make sure this is aligned to the regulatory frameworks that are not only out today, but they're out in the future as well, and alignment to both MITRE as well and other sort of frameworks like that as well. Everyone will be glad to know there's no AI in the exam as of yet, so that's good to know. Although beyond here, who knows what will be in the exam in the future. In terms of the structure though, we're pleased to announce that we will be removing the CCT-INF as a prerequisite for the new CSAS exam. So this is only people who have taken the exam in Pearson VUE. So existing CSAS holders will still need a valid CCT-INF to be fully accredited. But that will be a great step in the right direction for people that won't have to take two exams every 3 years to hold that sort of CBEST accreditation. So that's a real big push in the right direction, I think, from a CREST perspective. We're moving to a true global Pearson VUE-led delivery model, so that'll allow this to be taken in many different locations, I think 74 countries to date. That'll hopefully address some of the other markets and the regulatory frameworks, so CBEST, TIBA, FIA, CORI, ICAST, ASE, and all the other ones that are coming down the line as well. The new modality will mean that candidates won't be able to take their own toolkit in, so we're obviously having to rethink all of that, making sure that we have the right frameworks, CG frameworks, code snippets and modules in place, but all of that will be in hand, so the candidate experience is literally second to none, as mentioned before. The CREST Drive will also be involved in the CSAS as well, so people will be able to take their notes, their code snippets, anything from a tradecraft perspective to make sure that they have what they would typically have when doing an assessment or a red team against a real world organisation. More to come on this, obviously, when the notes for candidates come out near to the time of release, but obviously the exam structure is a big one for CSAS and quite excited about the changes, and hopefully it'll be a good experience for candidates going forward. The locations we've touched on in terms of the 74 locations, etc. The removal of CCT will be an improved experience for all, I believe, in terms of not having to do both exams if you want to just go down the red teaming route and that core discipline. You won't have to leave your hard drive behind to get it wiped. You won't have to go to hotels for delivery. So again, all these are kind of making the experience more improved. We've also said the AMIs will be available beforehand. So hopefully in the AWS environment, you'll be able to spin these up and get a good feel for them before going straight into the exam and looking at what sort of CT frameworks there, what tools are there, what snippets for compiling code, etc. are going to be on these VMs. So that's an important part of the experience for candidates. We'll also be looking, obviously, from a trading provider perspective as well to make sure that's all fully backed up from a CSAS and red team perspective. In terms of the syllabus and content, we're revamping and modernising the syllabus again to include all the latest attacks that I've kind of mentioned earlier, initial access methods, enterprise defensive products, evasion techniques, EDRs, that sort of thing that we do now on a day in, day out basis needs to be represented in the exam in some form. And like I said before, I guess we really want to make sure that this is a threat intelligence informed or led exam and candidates can be tested on simulating that threat, not just doing whatever they feel in a red team that is there for that. So that's kind of the changes on CSAS. If we could just move to the next slide. So in terms of the exam structure for CSAM, so we're not dramatically changing anything here. It was in Pearson VUE still today, and it will be, so that won't change much. And from a modality perspective, we're looking to increase the feedback level. So in terms of what candidates get if they don't quite pass or don't meet the mark, it's where in the syllabus do they need to improve? Is it more on the risk management side? Is it more on the the framework side or the tooling side. So hopefully that will give you an element of understanding about where you need to work on when you go in and pass or try to take the exam a second time. And there's other conversations ongoing as well about how we can increase that structure or make that structure better for candidates when going in to do this in Pearson VUE. Exam locations, again, have been increased from a sort of where we are today, so full delivery over those 74 countries. From an experience perspective, specifically for the CSAM, it's really the notes for candidates and the pre-reading material. We're going to have spent quite a lot of time improving those. I think to date there's one reading material for CSAM, so we want to make sure that we have more of that inside of the notes for candidates and on our website so that candidates really know how to prepare when coming into this exam. I think when the first inception of CSAM was nearly a decade ago, obviously that wasn't there wasn't really a role like there is today, with the increased use of regulatory frameworks such as threat-led frameworks. Obviously the exam and the role now plays a bigger part in industry, and hence there should be some better reading material that we can point candidates to better prepare for the exam itself. In terms of syllabus and content, so again, big push to increase the syllabus and make sure it's aligned with the latest attack techniques and the risk management aspect of the SAM role itself, the techniques, the frameworks, approaches, etc. that all goes to it. And again, the maturity of the red team and the marketplace has really evolved since this was first initiated, and hence we just need to make sure that's reflective in the content and the syllabus. And again, one thing we need to focus on is this exam isn't going to just be taken in one location, so we need to be reflective of legislation, regulation, and that from wherever candidates will be willing to take over these exams and try and take them from that perspective. So that's kind of everything from a CSAM perspective, and I'll pass back over to Nick. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ben. So what I would like to talk about very briefly is a rather clunky phrase, which is cyber workforce professionalization. So you may have heard of this already, but it is an emerging priority in many countries around the world at the moment to talk about how to professionalize the workforce. So this is associating us with the kind of professions like accountancy and engineering and medicine, whereby there are more consistent standards of expectation, and you can do things like create a chartered cybersecurity professional. Lots of conversations going on that CREST is having with numerous national governments and regulators around the world, but in particular in the UK, this is already underway through the UK Cybersecurity Council, and CREST is a part of that work. We've been piloting for a number of months now, and concluded that a few months ago, in fact, our first pilot, and we are hoping very soon to hear back from the Cybersecurity Council our ability to move into a live environment of offering those professional titles. It does at the moment relate specifically to our infant app exams being in scope, but we hope it will move downwards through the chain, through into the CRT level in due course, but also across into other parts of security testing, including red teaming. So our SAS and SAM exams, we do very much hope will be in scope for chartership in the future as well. At the moment, the council has not authorised professional titles against red teaming. That will be in the future, but as soon as it is, we look forward to offering that additional facet to your journey and the badges that you will be able to show to future employers and your peers. So more to come on that in the future, but it's fair to say that this is certainly an emerging both opportunity and challenge, and CREST will be working hard to try to harmonise this internationally and support you through the journey. Back to Egil.
Thanks, Nick. So briefly again around the timelines, I wanted to talk a little bit about what has happened and what's coming up next as well. It is a journey. We are quite proud of what we have achieved so far. So the new CRT exam has been launched in 2023. We've had some great results. We never seen such a high uptake as we had now in April. It was our best month in terms of number of exams being taken. So very, very good feedback as well. In April, We've launched our new CCT Inf and App written exams as well. We've had our first candidates taking these exams in the past couple weeks. Very positive feedback as well. We can see the benefit of the improvements that we've been mentioning during this presentation. So a lot around our feedback improvement as well, how candidates get better feedback out of our new exams. We're now in May, and from next week, we're going to open bookings for the new CCT Inf and App practical exams as well. And we're going to be launching and sharing publicly our new CC SAS syllabus. So this is all happening in May. And then we expect from late June, the first practical exams for CCT Inf and App to start, like the first sittings. So quite exciting about that as well. And meanwhile, we are working on Crest Drive. So we mentioned that a few times during the presentation today. The idea is that we deploy Crest Drive with the CCT Inf and practical exams first. So we're looking to the end of June, and then we'll move into CRT and introducing this functionality to the CRT exam as well, probably towards July. So this is roughly what we're thinking in terms of Crest Drive and the deployment across the new exams. During the same period, we'll be releasing the new CCSM syllabus as well. And meanwhile, we work on the new exams. So there's a lot of work actually happening behind the scenes on the new CC SAS and CCSM written and practical exams as well. Over to you, Andrew.
That's great. So thank you to all of our speakers. I hope you found that useful. We've now got some time for questions and answers. We've had a number of questions come through. So the first one I want to put to the panel is how will you make the experience good if we can't take our own machine in? And Ian, I think this is one for yourself.
Yes, okay. So we've put quite a lot of thought into this. I think it has been said several times on this call already, but the candidates will be given machines with tools on in the exam, and these machines will contain all the tools you need to perform the exam. For the CRT exam, it's a Kali Linux machine. For the certified level exams, it's a Kali Linux and a Windows machine. And we are making copies of those available as AMIs in AWS. So you'll be able to create your own versions of those virtual machines in order to do your exam preparation. In addition to that, to try and help with notes and bringing things into the exam, we've got the Crest Drive system. Now, when you book an exam, you'll be given a link so you can go and register for this. And then you'll be able to log into a website where you can upload whatever files you want to take into the exam. Now, we are not restricting the files you can take in any way whatsoever. So you can take in executables, scripts, notes. The only restriction we are enforcing is there will be a file size limit on the total number of files you can upload per exam. Then once you're in the exam and you're logged onto your candidate machines, you'll then be able to open a web browser and download those files without any authentication, so you have them where you need them in the exam. The other thing we're trying to do to make this a little better for the candidates is we're making sure that all the practical exams will be automatically marked, so you should get your results within 24 hours. Yeah, that's me.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Ian. Appreciate the answer. So the next question is regarding CC Inf Practical. Since the new CCT Inf Practical will only be out in June, is it possible that the 12 months validity begins when the new CCT Inf Practical comes out instead of when someone has passed the new CCT Inf Theory and Scenario? So Egor and Ben, I think this is one for you.
Yeah, this is possible. So any candidate who is ready to see the practical but cannot see the practical because we haven't launched yet, they can get in touch with us if they get to the end of their validity period and they were not able to pass.
Great. Thank you, Egor. So a question here about AWS Kali. Are there plans to update the AWS Kali image? And I put that to the panel.
I can answer that one. So I think this one refers, so I'm not sure which exam this is referring to. And my guess would be the CRT, because that's the only one we currently have live. We have actually literally today just finalized some updates to that image. It is going to take a while to filter through to the exam. I think it's likely to be probably a couple of months by the time it's gone through all the quality checks and the checks on the Pearson VUE side. But we have updated that image and it should be available relatively soon.
Great. Thank you, Ian. Thank you for that. Our next question, are there any plans to allow copy and pasting flags during exams? If not, will people be marked down if they mistype the flag? And again, I put that to any member of the panel.
So I can take this one again. So unfortunately, the copy and paste limitation is a limitation of the system we're using. So while we're using that system, we have no control over being able to make that work. So you will never be able to copy flags from the virtual machine desktop into the side panel for the answers. In order to combat that, we've tried to make them as easy to write as is possible. So generally they're things like trophy-12345 or an IP address or something that's really simple to write down. In terms of marking down, these exams are entirely automatically marked. They are case insensitive, so anything like that shouldn't affect them. And they will ignore white space at the end of starter words and things like that as well. But if you do get letters in the wrong order or numbers in the wrong order, it won't recognise that as the correct answer. So you do need to be careful when you type them in.
Great. Thank you, Ian, for that. So the next question is around CRT and CrestDrive. So with the new CrestDrive, which we talked about earlier, that we'll be bringing online very soon, for exams such as CRT, does this mean they're now open book? And Egor, I think this is one for you.
No, I think we've covered this one with the timelines. So the idea is to deploy CrestDrive with the InfenApp new practical exams, and the first sittings of these exams are expected for late June. After that, we will then deploy to the new CRT exam.
Great, thank you, Egor. The next question is around CC SAS. Will there be a comprehensive updated list for study and learning materials for CC SAS to guide students in the right direction for their learning?
Yeah, I can take this one. So yeah, we're updating the syllabus, which is obviously used for, I guess, revision and guidance, and the notes for candidates, and then obviously any material that we can point you to on the website for pre-learning will also be updated. So yes, hopefully this list will be good. It won't be an exact, here's how to pass the exam. It'll be things that you are likely to know or should know when doing this type of assessment.
Okay, great. Thank you. The next one, thank you for that, Ben. The next question is again around CrestDrive, and just someone wishing to know, they're keen to know how notes uploaded to CrestDrive are secured. They've spent a lot of time and years curating their notes and wouldn't want them disclosed, and assumes they'd be deleted after the exams. This is about securing notes on CrestDrive. So Mark, this may be one for yourself.
Thanks, Andrew. Yep. So, you are correct. When you upload the your notes, they are secured, and we can provide. We will provide on our website details around that security. When you go into the exam environment, they're only available in your particular environment, and when you finish the exam, those notes are then securely archived for a period of time and then deleted afterwards. But there'll be full sort of terms and conditions that will be released to let you know exactly how they are secured.
Great, thank you, Mark, for that. The next question is around training. Kind of touching, obviously we recently launched our training providers program. So is there a way of making training for Quest exams more accessible for independent learners and employees of small companies where some providers can be prohibitively expensive? So Egor, this one I think is for you.
Thanks, Andrew. Yeah, we're looking into options. I think the first step for us was actually to revamp and refresh the existing program, which means that we are expanding the number of training providers, which means that we're also expanding the variety of these training providers. There will be variances in pricing depending on the region, depending on the type of technologies that they use, depending on the delivery format as well. So there's going to be the idea is to have like a variety of them, and that should help with like affordability as well. And we're also exploring other opportunities for the future.
Great, thank you, Egor. So the next question is around CRT and feedback. So in regards to particularly for the practical exams being taken in Pearson VUE centres, what is the best way to feedback experiences in a way that will be heard by the team to ensure there are improvements in the experience? So Mark, I'm guessing this is one for you.
Sure. So yeah, for every single exam that's taken, we send out a survey to those candidates, and on there there are places to there are some preset questions, but also some fields where you can type in your feedback, and we're actively using those, and we have regular meetings with Pearson VUE on a monthly basis to feedback candidates' experience at test centres to make sure they're improved in the future.
Great, thank you, Mark, for that. Another question has come in. Will Pearson VUE store and process data in the US? So Mark, again, I think this may be one for yourself.
I think they're referring probably to the Pearson VUE terms and conditions about where they store their candidate profile data, which I don't believe is changing. So if it is in the US, then I get it will continue to be there.
I guess it will depend on the territory you're in and where you're accessing from in terms of that. Great. Okay, so we have come to the end of all the questions. Thank you for all those who submitted your questions today. I hope you have found today's session useful. I'd like to say a big thank you to my fellow hosts and speakers, our CEO, Nick Benson, our Senior Product Manager, Egor Freitas, and Mark Grigg, our Head of IT and Change. And very much delighted to say a big thank you, and thank you so much for your time and bring your expertise to today's discussion and webinar, to our three Quest assessors, Ian Lovering, Ben Turner, and Tim Reed. We hope you found today's session useful. As I said, it has been recorded. We will be making it available post-event in the next week or so, available on our website, and we'll also be promoting it across social media. So make sure to keep an eye out for that, and share it with people who weren't able to attend this afternoon's live event. We'll also be sending out a short survey after this that you can complete to help us improve our webinar experience. But for now, thank you again to all our speakers today. Thank you all for attending, and we hope you enjoy the rest of your day.